Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay. This is me now in Streamlabs. There is a tip jar to the left of me, I think. I don't know how it's appearing on the screen. I think that would allow donations as opposed to super chats, and it would come to me in the same way. My wife is supposedly doing a test case of this, even though I don't think she's doing a test case of this right now. I'll find out in one of my other videos. But you said showing? Okay, I thought she was talking to me. Nevertheless, there is a tip jar there. I think that works. I haven't necessarily tested it. I've only tested it in the back of the console, so we will find out. All of my videos have been demonetized at this point, meaning everything going back to time. I consider this YouTube essentially stealing, which is why you will not get a commercial on any of my videos for the next month. That said, that means I am, for the most part, free to do whatever I want now, since I don't have to worry about the payment part. One of the parts that I want to do, I was going to do this regardless. In fact, I got to be honest, I don't know what I would do differently even then, but nevertheless. ExxonMobil has been apparently giving lip service to supporting carbon tax. This idea of, for the amount of carbon that you use in your production capacity, that there's going to be a tax, a certain amount over a certain amount. So over a certain amount of carbon that you use, there's going to be a tax. And this carbon tax is going to be applied to creating and rebuilding United States infrastructure. That was the idea of the plan. Well, you can imagine Exxon was like, I don't care about this. Now, beyond not necessarily giving the full-throated support of that particular plan, one of the other things is Exxon gives lip service to supporting climate change, or supporting things of combating climate change, is even given lip service to this idea of a carbon tax. However, when you go to put it in practice, they essentially support and give money and put money in the G-string of politicians that don't support it. I'm going to put money in your pocket. So while I, the company, go out and give full-throated support to carbon tax and clean energy, I am putting money into the pockets of people who would never allow that to become a reality. That puts you in the mind of Democrats saying, we're for a better deal, but we're going to put our thumb on the scale for the people who would actually implement the better deal to which we are telling you we are for. You could understand why they do this. This has nothing to do with a societal benefit. It's the opposite. It's a small 1% has been able to control energy in the United States. Now, from the standpoint of a government, I think that's amazing that you would allow a small group of people purely dedicated to their profit motive to control the energy markets. But we do. And the government apparatus itself recognizes that, wait a minute, you're pumping a lot of shit into the air. A, we're breathing this stuff. B, you're creating earthquakes. And C, the lung disease that people get. The carbon dioxide that's in the air, the methane that's in the air, the stuff that's causing these hurricanes, that's adversely affecting communities of places that have no capacity to really do much about, talking about like Haiti and some of the other poor countries. We're dramatically affecting those places in the things that we're doing as we scour for energy and take stuff out of the ground and burn it into the sky. But the companies that are doing it, that make massive amounts of profit, billions and billions of dollars, you can understand the last thing they would want to do is allow those billions and billions of dollars to be undermined to any degree by some kind of carbon tax. Yes, we're fucking up the world. No, we don't want to do anything about it because we don't want to adversely affect our business model. And we have a vested interest in maximizing our profits. So yeah, you can kick rocks. But that said, we will give full-throated support until you actually give us something that we need to get behind, in which case we will tell you no. There's a group of scientists that seems befuddled by this behavior, making the point that these guys are saying they're for it, but they're supporting politicians who are not. And they're shocked by this. They're somewhat perturbed by this. We don't understand why this is taking place. I think they understand why this is taking place. They're just trying to show the conflict in what they say versus what they do. And I would make the point that that's the conflict that's in our just typical politics every day. This is the story by Exxon. It's called Union of Concerned Scientists, Science for a Healthy Planet and a Safer World. Well, that's an interesting name. Let's see if we can flip to it. ExxonMobil support for carbon tax is a sham. Maybe I should just call the video that. Exxon's support for carbon tax is a sham. In fact, I think I am going to rename the video that because I like the name of that video. It's short, sweet, to the point. All right, so right here. Exxon executives just had another opportunity to convince skeptics that their support for carbon tax is genuine. They blew it. On January 23rd, Representative Carlos Curbelo introduced a bill that would place a $24 per ton tax on carbon emissions and dedicate 70% of the revenue to rebuilding U.S. infrastructure. Okay, I'm wrong. It's not a tax over a certain amount. It's not like a carbon limit per se. It's just a tax on carbon, the amount of carbon that you're producing per ton. ExxonMobil's reaction: we appreciate Representative Curbelo's effort to generate a constructive discussion on this topic, on this important issue, was all the company's spokesman was willing to say. Why would they? Why would they? ExxonMobil's reluctance to seriously engage, however, should not come as a surprise. Yes, the company has consistently paid lip service to a carbon tax since 2009, and yes, it is a founding member of the Climate Leadership Council, which supports a $40 per ton carbon tax, and it frequently endorsed Americans for Carbon Dividends, a new bipartisan lobby group promoting a carbon tax that would return revenues to taxpayers. But more telling is the fact that the oil giant has never publicly supported a carbon tax bill and consistently funds a member of Congress who opposes a carbon tax. How does that square with the company's avowed position? This is capitalism. You understand that that company has a vested interest in maximizing their profit. And how do you maximize your profit if you're recognizing that there is a societal defect or societal deficit in what you're doing? Meaning you are causing problems that are greatly affecting the world, not just the society that you're in. And you're affecting it to a degree that is talking about cataclysmic climate change, not just in the country that you're operating, but all around the world. All around the world. The hurricanes, the melting of the ice caps, the jet stream may be shutting down. Or the jet stream in the water may be shutting down over this. The amount of carbon that's put into the sky that lowers the nutritional content in our plants. This is dramatically important. And we're allowing a small section of people, of the top 1%, to make a determination on how we gather energy. In this country, I'll say. Other countries may have their own plans, but in this country is my attention. I gotta be honest, I don't know why this is a story. I guess this is a story because some people believe when companies say stuff that they're actually gonna do it. I believe it if it's in their financial interest to do it. I don't believe it when it's not in their financial interest to do it. Oil companies have known about climate change going back to the 80s. They buried the report and attacked the science. I've shown it before where billions of dollars were spent attacking the science on climate change, regardless of them saying what they're willing to do. It's a different thing when you actually get to brass tacks and say, here's a bill. Are you going to sign on to that bill? The answer to that is always going to be no. It is in their financial interest to give it lip service. It is just as in their financial interest to not do anything about it. There's a difference in those things. The scientists or the people who wrote this article, go into right here. Let's start right here, and I'll leave the article at the bottom. The $130 million question. A few years ago, a top Exxon official claimed that since 2009, his company has been vigorously promoting a carbon tax with federal lawmakers as the most viable way to curb carbon emissions. ExxonMobil executives, he wrote, have echoed that message in countless private briefings with members of Congress on carbon tax policy options. Since 2009, ExxonMobil has spent nearly $130 million on this Washington lobbying operation, more than any other oil and gas company, and another $9.6 million on federal campaigns. The $130 million question: what have ExxonMobil executives been saying during the countless private briefings? To be sure, ExxonMobil is not the only fossil fuel company plying the halls of Congress, and Koch Industries and Murray Energy are definitely not trying to sell the carbon tax to anyone, so perhaps ExxonMobil lobbyists, no matter how hard they try, are overmatched. That said, The voting record compiled by ExxonMobil funding lawmakers, the company's refusal to back bona fide carbon tax bill, and the fact that it continues to finance a climate disinformation campaign all suggest that the climate company is deliberately misleading the public while it sabotages federal efforts to address climate change. Of course. Of course. Absolutely. Of course. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Look, the job of government is not to just accept what corporations say. The job of government was supposed to be for the public, commons, us. Yes, this thing of contradictions between the rich and the poor and these struggle of the classes and all this other stuff. But the governmental edifice was supposed to be the one where the public itself could come and have discourse over what was best for the public. Is it in the best interest of the public for a small number of people, a tiny group, the 1%ers, maybe even the percentage of the 1%ers, have determinations over how they can maximize their profit at the expense of everybody else from the standpoint of oil? To some degree, backing carbon credits recognizes that there's a problem with carbon going into the atmosphere. Fine. If you recognize there's a problem going into the atmosphere, why are we waiting on an oil company who will be hurt by the legislation? Meaning, the commons themselves, the people themselves are the ones who need to make this determination, not the oil companies. That's like asking the health insurance companies, hey, what do you think is best? I'm pretty sure that whatever they give you, whatever recommendation is going to be something that's best for them, not necessarily what's best for the American public. This goes back to something like slavery. If you ask the slaveholders what was best, I'm pretty sure the slaveholders will say, it's best that we keep slavery going for another 20, 30 years, and then we can talk about it later. The oil company who's destroying the world, I don't use that term hyperbolically, I use that term to some matter of factly, destroying the planet in their pursuit of profit. Yeah, they're not going to do anything about it. No, they're not going to support carbon credits. Yes, they're going to support politicians who are against it. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? This article, to some degree, I love it because it spells it out, but in another case, it feels like it's writing from a perspective of rank naivety. Will oil companies do what is in their best interest, even if the world takes a hit for it? Yes. Have they always done that? Yes. Will they continue to do it? Yes. Yes, without any intervention. Right here, I love this part, because he goes into how these people are being given money and taking behaviors. The most recent example of ExxonMobil's upside-down funding is not upside-down funding priorities. Their priorities are on point. Their priorities is maximizing their profit, meaning the money that they're going to give to people who can maximize their profit. ExxonMobil's upside-down funding priorities was a non-binding carbon tax resolution in the House, which states that such a tax would be detrimental to the United States economy. The measure, which a majority whip Steve Scalise sponsored just days before Quebel introduced his carbon tax bill, passed a 229 to 180 vote, and a majority of ExxonMobil funding lawmakers lined up in favor of it. All told, 78% of the 174 House members who have received ExxonMobil campaign contributions since 2013 voted for the resolution. 78% of the 174 members who received money from Exxon voted for a resolution that said such a tax will be detrimental to the U.S. economy. Fuck the world. Fuck the world. Can't make out profits if that's the case. Scalise has introduced similar worded measures before with similar measures. In March 2013, 156 House members co-sponsored his resolution stating that the carbon tax is not in the best interest of the United States. 93% of the co-sponsors, including Scalise, were funded by ExxonMobil. 3 years later, the House passed a Scalise resolution, which the same wording as the one earlier this month. 85% of the 237 House members who voted for the resolution received ExxonMobil funding since 2013. The day before that vote, a reporter asked an ExxonMobil spokesman for a company's opinion, given its supposed support for a carbon tax. Surely it would encourage the House to vote no. His response: we're not commenting on this resolution. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. Because at the end of the day, this was just about getting more. They didn't care about the effects on the public itself. This was about Exxon lining their pockets with more money. And to be fair, carbon tax, which I don't even like the idea per se, because yeah, you may create somewhat of a disincentive for carbon, but I guess you make carbon more expensive. But I don't like this kind of hackney way of going about things that are detrimental. There's an asteroid that's about to hit the planet. And the conversation we're having is, can we put a tax on some people who are doing something that's allowing that asteroid to hit the planet? That sounds utterly absurd to me from a real reality standpoint. Meaning if you're sitting on the moon looking at the planet and you say to yourself, wait a minute, those stupid apes, they're down there doing something that's going to ultimately kill them for something that's not ultimately real. And the way they're going about trying to do something about it, anything, incrementally do something about it, is to put a tax on anything that's destroying the planet. Is that the best you got? Is that the best you got? It just seems fucking absurd. But this is our world. This is our society. Asteroid is about to hit the planet. And people are quibbling about costs. So, if fossil fuel subsidies were eliminated, energy companies would go green for profit margins. If fuel subsidies, yeah, that's the other part. Right, we give them billions of dollars. We give them billions of dollars. Give that money to the new economy. Don't give that money to these old oil companies. I understand that there needs to be a transition, but the government needs to be on it enough, and that but to the degree which you can't have that transition. You can understand energy companies have a vested interest in hitting in the knees other forms of energy that may, let's say, supplant what they themselves have instituted. This is somewhat of capitalistic gamesmanship at this point. But the problem with this is you're destroying the planet. And they're saying, but my profits. Yeah, but you're destroying the planet. I know, but my profits. I need another digit in my bank account, none of which are real. The planet is, and they're willing to let it all burn to have another digit or two in their bank account. All right, I'm going to end this here. I will see you guys shortly. I have another video coming up. It annoys me. This feels weird. Under normal circumstances, when I do a video, I put the video up and I think to myself, all right, well, any video is going to get a certain amount. It's weird putting a video up when it's almost like you're working for free. It's aggravating to me. It's aggravating. This is a little weird. All right, this title, oh, I didn't put it at the bottom. I'm putting this at the bottom. I love the almost like a golly gee way of going about it. And I suppose he wrote it for people who may be less cynical than I am, who look at that and say to themselves, well, of course, it's an oil company. They're going to try to maximize their profit. They don't care about the societal problems that come along with them maximize their profit. But not everybody thinks that way. So some people may hear what the oil company said, actually believe them and take them at their word. They should. They should not. Thorium conversion. I love that. Thorium reactor. All right. I'm going to end this. Q is trending on #1 on Twitter. Oh, God. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that. I don't think he set it up yet. Set up what? Set up what? Set up what? Set up what? What did I miss? Did I miss something? How do you use the tip jar? I thought it was just a click, but I could be wrong. Let's try it together. My wife, who's supposed to be my advertising secretary or something she calls herself. I wanted her to help me with this, but she is not, so I guess I'll go here and try it. I thought I set this up. I'll remove this part of the video. I wanted her. Oh, that didn't work. Crap. All right. That didn't work. All right, I'll make that work. I figured out what's going on. I thought I had set it up. Like, apparently the tip jar is not set up correctly. This is aggravating. All this is aggravating. All right, I'm going to end this here. I still have other videos that I have for the night. I'm trying to figure out how to use this stuff in addition to doing the videos. So there may be a little bit of gap between the videos. So if so, that's why. But nevertheless, I'll see you guys probably in about 30 minutes. Thanks, guys. See you shortly. Oh, if you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and you can always support the Patreon. Thanks, everyone.